This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Brandon Andrus Green.
Welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast Live. Are you looking for a story of resilience, redemption, and healing? Well, one might be closer than you think. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing your good neighbor, Forrest, author of Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption. Hey, Forrest, how's it going?
Terrific, man. How are you?
Doing so well, man. We're excited to learn all about you, your story, and the work you're doing through Angel Blue. For listeners who are just meeting you, tell us a little bit about Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, and maybe why you wrote it.
Got it. My name's Forrest Lang, and I wrote Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, to communicate to the world my victory over trauma, specifically childhood trauma and its after effects. And I shared my story so that I could inspire others who may have had a similar experience and that they may feel empowered to pursue their own freedom and their own kick-ass life in spite of what happened, not because of it.
Amen. So your story touches foster care, homelessness, abuse, trauma, recovery, and eventually redemption. When you look back, what was the moment where you realized, man, I need to tell this story out loud?
I was sitting in my backyard after I woke up in my nice soft bed. I said my morning affirmations. I sipped that steamy hot cup of coffee as I listened to the waves crash into the cliffs and the birds sing. And I realized that I was completely free of poverty, addiction, chaos, violence, and isolation.
Wow.
And I had found peace. And I don't know if it was a moment. It could have been a series of mornings waking up like that. And then also knowing how many people struggle and how many we left behind and how many aren't here anymore. And I felt compelled to write.
So a lot of people hear the word survivor, but they do not always pretty much understand what healing actually looks like. I know it's kind of nuanced. What would you say are some of the myths or maybe misconceptions people have about surviving childhood sexual abuse and or just deep childhood trauma?
I think one of the myths is that you should put your past in the past and not look at it and ignore it and focus only on today because today is the only thing that matters. That sounds terrific and it sounds heroic. The problem is that our experiences, specifically in our first 8 years of life, affect everything that we do and every core belief that we have. So there is value in rewriting scripts if the script that we were handed as children is one of shame, isolation, violence, depression, unworthiness. There is tremendous value in visiting and transforming our core beliefs and our core programs. I have been able to transform my life so that it is unrecognizable from what it was even 15 years ago. And people also, another myth, I think, is that there is some magical key thing that a person can do to transform everything. And I have found that not to be the case at all. People lead with forgiveness. Oh, well, if you would just forgive, then everything will be okay and your life will be magical. Most people that tout that complete and utter nonsense don't even have a grasp of what forgiveness is. It is a very small component of recovery and unnecessary to begin healing and transforming our life.
So true.
And people will listen to that sentence and say, he doesn't believe in forgiveness. Again, Use your critical thought if that's your first response. It's not what I said. I said it's a small component and it's not for the beginning. If you lead with you need to forgive when somebody discloses child abuse to you, you're not being helpful at all. And the reason I say that is because that has been my experience for a significant portion of my life.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that stood out to me is that you talk about how hard it was to find other men openly sharing their experiences. Why do you think that silence is so common, especially for us men?
Well, culture is changing for the better. And in some of that change, there's some misunderstanding and an idea that if the archetype of what the general consensus is of what a strong masculine man is, if that changes, it may threaten some people's idea. And the one that we still rely on today, and a lot of the mansphere relies on, is this Tin Man, John Wayne, no feelings, doesn't smile, doesn't cry, tough all the time, provider all the time, and never any rest, doesn't feel pain archetype. And that is anybody who has experienced combat where you are wearing a uniform with a rifle in your hand and the enemy is trying to kill you and you are trying to kill the enemy will instantly realize that that archetype is complete and utter bullshit. That men do have feelings, we do process. A lot of that is like this weird pretend thing. Now, that doesn't mean that men need to be weak or soft. In fact, it's the opposite, and it's true strength to be willing to show vulnerability and emotion and process emotion. It is beneficial in every area of a person's life. I feel like I'm like kind of missing stuff, but whatever.
Your book is not just about pain. I notice it's also about recovery, community, having to learn how to live again. What helped you, Forrest, move from just surviving to actually wanting to heal?
A slow transition, man. It started with people loving me back together, and I didn't even realize they were doing it at the time. It came from fear of death and fear of unhappiness and fear of living in the things that I was in. I struggled with addiction. I've been sober for 25 years. Alcohol was a very good friend to me during the times that I had no other tools. There was a lot that went into my personal transformation, and it was long. I was a seeker. When I experienced physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, abandonment, and poverty all of my first 16 years of life, and then I was a homeless addict. I weighed 105 pounds. The journey was long, and I was a seeker, and there weren't answers readily available. And I chose to fight, and I chose to keep seeking throughout my life. And I still choose that. I have adopted the mindset of somebody who is a lifelong learner. A good mentor of mine coined that term, or at least said that term to me. And I practice expansion on a regular basis. And I do something outside of my comfort zone every day. I practice service, study, contribution, acknowledgement, affirmation. I practice self care, eat, sleep, medical care, hygiene, exercise, and hobbies. These are practices. So if we have a physical body that was held prisoner for a time, let's say there was a person who was kept inside of a 5 by 5 cell for 16 years. That body is going to be weakened. It's going to be emaciated. The muscles are going to be very weak. The tendons will be clenched and not stretched. And one trip to the gym isn't going to get that body in shape. Multiple trips to physical therapy, to different doctors. You might have to have some operations. It may take some years to do these exercises. Now, if my psyche was that body, what I did is I sought for years exercises and mentors and trainers and teachers who could help me. And some of it I learned myself, although it was just a matter of compiling other people's information. I learned a practice that works well for me and seems to work well for other survivors. And I didn't write a self help book, I just wrote my story in hopes that people who don't have any way or any knowledge or any friend or any teacher could look and be inspired to seek out their own.
So, for someone listening right now who maybe has their own story, but still feels maybe ashamed, stuck, alone, what would you want to say to them?
When I was younger, I thought that my life was cursed because my friends kept dying. I kept ending up in bad relationships. I kept ending up broke. I kept ending up alone. And I didn't understand, even after I got sober, why I continued to end up in situations that I didn't want to be in. And what I would say is, it's not your fault. It wasn't my fault either. These are normal reactions to abnormal circumstances. If you had trauma in the early part of your life, the imprint of that is very deep, and it can take some work to undo that imprint. When we're going through our day, 95% of what we do, we're not aware of. We're only aware of about 15% of our actions. We're not aware of our breath. We're not aware of our go-tos, our learned habits, our drive to work. These are all ways of being. And to change those takes some work. It takes emotional involvement, a reason why, and repetition. And it doesn't have to take you as long as it did me, because I made a map for you. And there's other people did too. We're in the level at which we're able to exchange and absorb knowledge and information is unprecedented in human history. Now, there's a lot of bullshit in between all of that good information, and it's up to you to sift through it. But if you find yourself in a life that you're unhappy with, I hope that you will choose to do the work to create something different. And you don't have to do it alone. It's not your fault. And you have tremendous power to change the direction and course and circumstances of your life.
What a good word. So, brother, outside the book, speaking and advocacy work, what do you do for fun?
Well, my job's pretty fun. I've been making tattoos for 21 years now, and I really enjoy that. I love riding motorcycles. I love my wife dearly. She is so awesome. Did you know we just had a baby?
No, I didn't.
Dude, on September 11th, I was away in Missouri. My daughter's already moved out. We raised my daughter together,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
my wife called me bawling, and I thought somebody died. What is wrong, babe? Well, what is going on? And she just barely could get the words out. She said, I'm pregnant. And then we went and got an ultrasound. And I thought, Papa's got a little pooch, and Kristen's always been a supermodel. And I thought she just got a little, little
Yeah.
lovey junky junk in the trunk, but it turns out she's 4 months pregnant. And so on March 11th at 7:33 p.m., Forrest Alexander Lang came into this world.
Wow.
And that's what I've been really up to the last few months, is hanging out with my kiddo, and just really we're in that bliss part where there's a new life. And oh man, it is something else. And when my daughter was born back in 2005, I felt two things simultaneously. I felt a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety that here is this vulnerable person in this big and scary world, and I need to protect this child at all cost. And at the same time, I felt this tremendous, big, unconditional love and care. And when my son was born a few months ago, I didn't feel any more anxiety than I already have, but the love doubled. And now I understand why people have more than one kid. It is just incredible. And we're so blessed that everything went great. We're a little bit older, but everything was perfect and everything is going super great. Obviously, it's a lot of work, but man, we are blessed.
Congratulations, brother. Yeah, I know it's what an incredible experience, and I love having little boys. So, Forrest, please tell our listeners one thing they should remember about Angel Blue, a song of redemption.
The title? Read it, man. There is no reason why anybody who wants to read it could not. Angel Blue, a song of redemption, is for you if you are a survivor or have one in your life, you've experienced any kind of trauma, or if you just want to read a good story. If you are a survivor and you can't afford it, you can email me at my website, angelbluebook.com. I'll send you a free digital copy. It's on Audible, anywhere you get audiobooks, even Spotify. It's available on Amazon and most countries in the world. And it's been a labor of love. We are slowly rising to number one. I will not rest until Angel Blue, a Song of Redemption, is placed into 1 million pairs of hands. Wow. And that's the work right now. That's the labor of love.
It's incredible. What a powerful story.
Does it even matter if you're like a number one Amazon bestseller? That's like, no one cares.
I think it's right? Cool. It matters to me.
Yeah. We're not New York Times because we self-publish, so.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations, man. It's such incredible news. And I'm excited about little Forrest.
Dude, I'm excited for your show. This is awesome, man. You look great. I love the title, Good Neighbor. What a terrific idea and endeavor that you're doing here, man. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, brother. It means a lot. Well, we really appreciate you being on this show. I wish you, your son, your wife, and your book the best moving forward.
And Gracie, my daughter.
And Gracie, your daughter. That's right. We can't forget Gracie.
Thanks, brother. You the same to you and yours.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnptulsa.com. That's gnptulsa.com. Or call 918-301-6356.